So I thought I'd open this by using a bit of Wikipedia to tell us what Kirby is.
What is
I'm going to read you a little paragraph. Who is Kirby? Kirby is the main protagonist of the Kirby series. He's a young, and this I didn't know, special, spherical, 8-inch tall alien boy. He's 8 inches.
8-inch alien boy? No, I definitely didn't know that.
No. He lives on a faraway star-shaped planet called Popstar, which I didn't know it was called Popstar until they play in this game, actually. In the country of Dreamland, and much of Dreamland is in peace, and they live carefree lives, and blah, 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 okay? And it tells you what Kirby can do. So Kirby's Dream Land 3, in the sequence of Kirby games, I was surprised to find that it comes way, way down the list of Kirby games released. I'm absolutely shocked, and some of them I didn't even know existed, or there's no way I've played all of them, that's for sure. Kirby started in 1992 on the Game Boy as Kirby's Dream Land. Did you play that game?
It was one of my favourite Game Boy games as a child. I absolutely adored Kirby's Dream Land.
And do you remember the box art for that? Because I vividly remember it.
It was Kirby all puffed up.
But there's something different about Kirby. He was white.
Yes, he was.
Like a ghost.
He was white.
Yeah,
that's
he looked
right.
like a ghost on it.
Yeah. I played Dreamland and Kirby's Pinball, which is the third game, and I loved both of them. Two of my favourite Game Boy games. Fantastic, both of them. Pinball especially is really, really good.
Kirby's Pinball Land, yes. I didn't play it, but I've heard so many good things about that one on the Game Boy. NES was the second one a year later. There's so many Kirby games. If I showed you the full list of Kirby games to present, there's only about 3 years from 1992 to present where there's never been a Kirby game released. And then in some years, there have been 3 or 4 Kirby games released. So on average, there's at least one Kirby game a year.
Wow.
Kirby's Adventure NES was in 1993. And Kirby's Dream Course then SNES was in 1994, only 2 years after the Game Boy game. But it wasn't until 1997 we got Kirby's Dream Land 3, which is a direct sequel to the 1995 Game Boy Kirby's Dream Land 2. So the game we're talking about is the SNES version, number 3. What's your experience with Kirby, Nick?
In general?
Yeah, just in general. Do you like it?
To be honest, outside of those 2 Game Boy games, I haven't really played many Kirby games. The only other game I've finished is, I forget the name now, the first one on the 3DS, Triple Deluxe.
Triple Deluxe.
Which is also really good. I really enjoyed that game. I have briefly played Epic Yarn, and nothing from the 64, nothing from the GameCube. I never played the Wii U game, the paintbrush one.
Canvas Curse.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. DS, maybe I played something on the DS, but I can't really remember.
And the one I want to go back for the DS is Kirby Mass Attack. I would like to play that one.
Yeah,
I wasn't on DS, wasn't it? DS, yeah.
I've played the NES one on the Virtual Console.
Yeah, me too.
And it's horrendous. I hate it.
Actually, I played the NES one on the 3D Classics on the 3DS as well.
I can't stand that game. I don't like it. And Dream Course is alright. Like, I know it gets a bad rap, but I don't really mind it too much. It's alright. But yeah, I'm not a big, like, he was my main in Smash Brothers on the 64 for a while, and often on Melee as well, but not really. Like, I'm not a big Kirby guy, to be honest.
I'm not either. Epic Yarn is probably my favourite game in the series, and that's not really a Kirby game, you know? So what can I say about that? I did, like you, enjoy Kirby's Triple Deluxe on the 3DS. I thought that was a load of fun.
Yeah, it was really good.
Especially with some of the puzzle elements of the drop in the back, and there's maybe a key in the background or something. You had to do something in the foreground and then drop into the background to get it. There was some nice elements in that. Kirby's Dream Land 3 follows a different trajectory to that because of the publisher's Nintendo, of course, but the director, Shimomura. And we'll talk a bit more about the kind of 2 different directors and why different Kirby games feel differently later. So Dreamland 3, you never played back in the day.
Nope.
And you never played it until we played it for PodPals. Is that right?
Until about 2 weeks ago.
So what is Dreamland 3? Well, Kirby's Dream Land 3 was the last SNES game published by Nintendo in North America. Problems with the PAL conversion. I didn't know it didn't release in Europe. There were problems with the PAL conversion. It didn't release in Europe and Australia for many years. It was eventually released on the Virtual Console, but then it released as the North American version on July 24th, 2009. So it never came out in Europe, didn't know. And for the Wii then in 2013 on the Wii U.
I have a guess as to why it didn't come out in Europe. Can you imagine a 50 hertz conversion of this game? It wouldn't even move. Like Sonic is bad.
Rather a chug fest.
No, I mean it's just so slow anyway.
Yes.
And slowing it down even more.
Yes.
Ugh. All right.
There is a double tap Kirby. You can double tap Kirby, but it's awkward to implement.
It's incredibly awkward.
We'll talk about
later.
We'll
get onto it. Yeah.
Yeah. Kirby. So the game is about Kirby and Gooey, who is a weird inclusion, but he's in there. They're on a fishing trip when all of a sudden dark matter appears and shatters the planet's rings. He then proceeds to possess various Dreamlanders, including King Dedede, Kirby, and Gooey, then team up with Rick, Koo, and Kine, and new characters, Pitch, Choo Choo, and Nago. And this is what these kind of Dreamland games introduce, these rideable and attachable animal characters, which add some puzzle elements to it. So my first impressions, I turned it on, loved the art style.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with you there, yeah. I'll agree with you completely, yeah.
Love the art style. We'll talk about that a bit more later as well. Played the first couple of levels and thought, what the hell is going on here? I'm passing these characters who are in the background, and then, can I interact with them? Oh, I press X. Oh, I've just jumped on this character. It doesn't, there's no prompt to say, press X here. There's nothing. So there are characters in the background you meet later as well. And you think, all right, I'll get off this character. No, I can't get on that character. I can on this one, but not this one. And I felt confused. I felt that a manual was needed. There's something missing here. They're not telling me something. How did you feel, Nick?
I was confused as well. I didn't even know, I think until about the third or fourth level, that you could ride the characters. I just thought, what are these guys doing here? And and I remember I tried to interact with them. I think it was in the first level or the second level maybe, and I pressed I want to say A, and Gooey came out.
Yes, yeah, he
and
just
I was
pops
like,
up. Yeah.
What the hell is this? Like, I wanted to get talk or get on the character, and then there's this purple blob, and then I didn't understand anything. I went outside, and then he just started attacking enemies. I was like, okay,
you can just stand there with your hands behind your head and let him carry on.
Very confusing. I do agree that a manual would have been useful because, now obviously everything is explained in the game, and back then it really wasn't. And you don't really realize it until you actually just play an old game like this, and then you kind of like, what do I do? What's this for? Where do I go? So yeah, a little bit of instructions, just what each button does would be lovely, but we don't have that.
It's definitely needed. Yes. It's part of the game as well, isn't it? You know, a little screen prompt where, you can press X here. Anyway, HOT from the N Europe Video Game Club thread. We're going to go through a couple of the boys, what their first impressions were. I'll read HOT's, you can read Jonas's.
Jonas.
HOT said, I started and finished the game over the weekend before we announced the winner of the pod.
Very keen to play Kirby's Dream Land 3. I think it was pretty obvious this was going to win, though, to be honest.
Yes, it was. It was well in the lead before the date we announced it. I really enjoyed playing through this. I'm honestly not sure if I've actually played it before. If I did, then I don't remember anything about it. So HOT's initial impressions were very positive.
Yeah.
How about Jonas?
Jonas said, Kirby's Dream Land 3 is a lovely, relaxing game. So happy this is part of the service. Rick and all the other animal friends soothe my stressed soul. I've been playing this during my relaxation time, usually with something else on in the background, and I finished it recently. I think Jonas finished it quite a while ago, maybe a month or two ago, yeah?
It is now, yes, yeah.
So before we announced
this was a long time, yes, before we announced the PodPals, yeah. He came back later to add something else, but this is not recent, yes.
This is exactly the type of game that makes the NES and SNES service shine. Lovely stuff you didn't know you wanted or needed.
See, Nick, you didn't know you wanted it.
That's a nice little comment about Kirby, and about a lot of games actually on the NES and SNES service. I would agree completely. Like, never would have wanted to play these, but actually, they're pretty fun. Just not Kirby's Dream Land 3.
I still need to play Eliminator Boat Duel.
Oh, it's great. It's so good. It's so good.
Ike's first impressions from the forums as well said, I wasn't sure what was going on at first though. Why was there this weird spring thing waiting at the end of the level? This is what I thought. It's like, oh, can I jump on him as well? No, can't jump on him. Again, maybe something that was explained in the manual. Pushing towards what we feel.
So, is this how you get the heart then? Is there always somebody waiting at the end of the level, yeah?
There's somebody waiting at the end of the level that gives you a specific heart or something, like a shape or something, and you have to do something in the level to warrant getting it off of them at the end of it, yes.
Because I got 3 hearts in the levels that I finished, and I have no idea how I got any of them.
I think I got about 4, and I finished the game. So the entirety of the game, 5 levels of the game, 5 worlds rather. I only got 4 hearts. Mm. And that'll make itself abundantly clear why later as well. So how does it look? How does it sound? How does it play? Graphics and sound. Personally, I think like I mentioned just in the opening, it's got this beautiful painterly style. I also felt it got like pastels and chalk drawings at times. But what stood out for me, that I really liked the way it looked, is the effects it had, you know? I can't remember many SNES games pulling off things that it did, and probably because it was one of the later SNES games on the SNES. This transparency, opaque effect it had when Kirby would be going behind a tree. So you'd be in the forest, and to make it feel more foresty, for example, you're traversing a tree going up or down, it would have branches coming across, and then these like opaque green leaves with this green sheen on the screen, which you can still see Kirby behind, but he's slightly obscured. It gave a really nice feel of depth and everything to it. I thought it looked great. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, I think the graphics are really nice on this game. I agree that it looks like a chalk style chalk drawing. And the pastel colours, it fits very well, this style of game. And I think this is like the end of the SNES. Sorry, SNES. The end of the SNES was when Nintendo started experimenting with stuff like this. I mean, we had like Star Fox was supposed to be, you know, this is like the future. It's like super graphics, 3D. But, you know, Yoshi's Island and Kirby's Dream Land 3 were kind of more in the other way. They're more to the style that I would say Nintendo are now. So I think it's interesting to see this in the context of the time, what they were doing, what they were experimenting with. But I think overall I would say I prefer the crayon style in Yoshi's Island. I think it. Yes, I think it looks. I do too. It looks better for me personally. In my opinion, it's more pleasing on the eye. But I do appreciate this art style a lot. I think it looks really nice, especially for an SNES, for a 16-bit SNES game.
Yeah, HOT, he says the Kirby games are always a joy to play through, and he kind of agrees with us in the vibrant worlds, whimsical soundtracks. This is Kirby soundtrack, you know. For me, it's just it's like okay, it's the same as Kirby before. I didn't think anything much of the soundtrack. Didn't sell me on it. But he said the simple but deep gameplay and playful nature always brought a smile to my face. He enjoys how the Kirby games are structured, and this one is no different. You can play the game from start to finish without worrying about anything but the main stages. However, if you want to do a little bit more and aim for 100%, there are lots of extras to do. And he praises the art style for being very expressive, large amount of charm that each character brings to the table. Did those extra enemies, extra friends, like Rick the hamster and all that, they were rather well animated, I thought.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah.
So, Nick, what did Jonas have to say about the art style? I'm joking.
He said, as is usual for a Kirby game, it's cute and cheerful. Yes, I agree. This game in particular has a crayon look to it that's just adorable, and the sprite work is super charming. So basically the same as what we've said.
I think, yeah, it's that kind of charm that Nintendo charm has. It's a game that you can look at even today and think, they were doing something nicer. And Ike, nice and short and to the point, said, anyway, graphics were great, music was great. So something I touched on a little earlier was the different type of Kirby games that get made. And Glenn I pointed this out on the forums, and D-Cube kind of followed him up and added a little bit extra as well. Now, Glenn I said, there's basically two versions of older Kirby games. The frantic, fast-paced Kirby, where copy abilities are multiple inputs for different moves that Sakurai popularized. And for me, I prefer those games.
Yep.
Because it makes Kirby feel a little bit more like Smash Brothers, a little bit more like a fighting game, and it's faster paced, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the more slow paced, simple to grasp abilities that Shimomura favored, which Kirby's Dream Land 3 is part of.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the Shimomura games.
I wonder if, I don't know, I'm going to find out now if the original Game Boy one was, probably was Shimomura, because...
Probably, yeah, the earlier ones probably were.
I don't remember it being this slow.
If you go back to the NES one as well, that is really slow as well. But while you're looking for that, I'll tell you what D-Cube added. It's worth noting that as well. Shimomura games tend to be more exploration, puzzle focused.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I guess, where the friends come in, here in this game.
Yeah, where the friends come in, because what we'll talk about next is level design and puzzles, and the way you can use the animals and link it to another ability like ice or sword or cutter, and then change the ability completely. So that's the Shimomura games, and he focuses on those abilities and combinations to modify your attacks, while Sakurai games are faster paced. And the modern Kirby trilogy, Return to Dreamland, Triple Deluxe, and Planet Robobot, are a mixture of the two. Mm-hmm. While Kirby Star Allies is a love letter to Shimomura games. Lovely.
Dreamland, the original Dreamland is Sakurai. So I'm not surprised I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, there you go. Different kind of style.
Yeah.
So moving on to level design and puzzles, just briefly mention that kind of, Y button you suck and shoot, B button you jump and float, just like in all other Kirby games. But then you got that X button to ride the animals and jump off of them. You got the A button, which is that weird GUI, his name is. He calls that helper in that. Did you use GUI a lot?
Only that one time by accident, and I didn't bother.
I did it by accident, and he's out there and he's killing everything. And it's like, well, this is making it far too easy. It has got that feeling of Kirby Star Allies, where it's, I got this little friend who will go off and attack things with me, but that annoyed me in Star Allies as well. It's like, no, I want to be doing this. Stop, no, right, and they've gone and just cleared the screen for me. Thank you very much. But the minus button dispels your ability. That's the same as all Kirby games, So you don't want ice anymore. You press the minus button, Kirby drops it, and then you can get the opportunity to suck up another thing. Level design for me, though, I found it incredibly repetitive. There was the same screen architecture was used over and over again, and not in just different levels. Yes, in different levels. So you'd see the same corridor in an underwater level, then you see it in an air level, then you see exactly the same level repeated in different places. That's one kind of thing. But it felt a little lazy at times as well. You'd see within one stretch of a level, so just one corridor, you'd see a pit, a mountain, an enemy on top. And you beat that enemy, and then you see a pit, a mountain, the same enemy on top. And you'd see exactly the same architecture from screen to screen to screen along one thing 4 or 5 times in a row. And it's like, how long is this going to go on for? And that permeated for me the entirety of the game. It just went on, and the same repetitive things over and over and over again. Yes, there were different levels, like I mentioned, the tree one, when you're going up the tree, and some beautiful opaque leaves in front of you and all that to shake the formula up. But it wasn't enough. How did you feel, Nick?
Well, I guess it's time for me to tell you how far I got into the game. So World 2 Level 4 was the point where I just gave up, unfortunately. As I said, this weekend I had plenty of time. I sat down for about an hour with Kirby, and it's dull. I couldn't force myself to continue.
An hour is very hard.
I couldn't force myself to continue. So, I mean, fair play to anybody who enjoys this, and if you find enjoyment in it and you like it, that's fine. But I don't want to play something that I'm not having fun playing, or I'm not really that interested in playing. So, the level design was one of the reasons why I stopped playing, because I, again, like you, found it a bit repetitive, just dull. Like, it wasn't interesting. There was nothing interesting, and the movement speed was just painfully slow. And yes, I know you can double tap to run, but that, after a while, got annoying. Like, it would be easier with a run button than to have to keep double tapping the D-pad. It's frustrating. And it just, all of the things combined, just in the end, and because I was trying to run through the levels, basically, I just was like, I'm just going to run through. I kept dying.
Yeah.
And after everybody had said on the forum how ridiculously easy the game was, I felt a bit stupid. It wasn't that easy for me, but it was just out of like frustration and boredom that I was like trying to get it done. But then I thought, well, what's the point? If I'm not enjoying it, then I've give it a shot, Greg. So
Didn't you give up after the first level?
So I'm gonna, just not for me. It's not my kind of game.
Yeah. I really struggled it just for half an hour,
Yeah.
And that's how I played it. Basically, it felt like, all right, I need to finish this game. I don't need to finish this game, but I will try to get as far as I can in this game, and I do 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. And even after playing it for 30 minutes, after that 30 minutes, I was like sighing and going, you've done nothing to warrant me wanting to come back tomorrow. Sorry.
I do think the heart thing is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I think if the game was a little bit more satisfying to play, then I think it would be it's a good addition. And as I said, I did actually get 3 or 4 of the hearts, I think 4 by mistake. So, I mean, I was experimenting. And
I think that's what it's about. It's about experimentation and how far you want to go. That linking of animals, I said, and then the different abilities, that can open up new puzzle areas, apparently. And by the time I got to World 2, I didn't want to see any of that. I just wanted to get through it as fast as possible.
I will say, I remember someone, I think it was yesterday, they were talking on the forum about the water, where how you could shoot water.
Yeah, yes.
Got that straight away. Got it nailed down straight away. I figured that one out. And I got the heart in that. I think it's World 2 Level 1, I want to say, where there's the flowers. And you have to like grow the flowers, and then at the end of the level,
okay.
I got that
so
one.
You missed all that.
But I don't know, I honestly prefer Demon's Crest. I thought, even though I didn't finish that either, it was more enjoyable to play through, personally, for me. Still frustrating, still annoying, still very archaic, but it was something that I hadn't seen before, whereas Kirby feels very tired now.
Yeah, there was one level which stood out for me, and even though it stood out, there were elements that it frustrated me, but it showed what this kind of combination between animal and weapon type can change over. And it was this Rob the Robot level, because there are cameos in this from Nintendo. And the Rob the Robot level, you come into this like pyramid, and then in the center of the pyramid there are 6 rooms that you can jump into this goo, which shoots you out into the corners, whichever direction you want, and going in different directions. Each room will require, apart from one, if you go down, I think it's basically the room where you can acquire the animal you need and the power up. The other 5 rooms then, each one houses a little puzzle regarding to an animal and the power up that you need to get through it. And you have to work out which one you need and which one will fit the instance to get through it, to get a part of Rob. And then you collect Rob and that's one of the ones I did get, the heart at the end. Very ingenious, but very frustrating, because there's so many times you go, right, let me try this guy and this well. And you go back to that level, you get back out, you go into the level, and then you find you can get past the first part, but the second part, there's another part then, I can't get past that. So I have to go all the way back, get the one, and you might be 3 or 4 times dropping into the same level to see if, and I didn't know that I could have just gone to the right and skipped all that, and I could very well have skipped it all, but I'm glad I stuck with it and did build Rob the Robot and get that, just to see what the kind of puzzle mechanics are of it, and it does hold promise in that if you've got the time. And if every level did that, that'd be wonderful as well. What about HOT, Nick? What did he have to say about level design?
So, he said, collecting a heart in each of the stages requires the player to do a task within the stage itself, which we talked about. The tasks can be something simple, such as winning a mini-game, but they can also be a little bit more challenging, where completing the challenge requires you to have a certain animal friend with you, a certain power-up, or even both, as we said. A lot of the time, most of the things needed for the challenges are found in the stage that gives you the task. But, however, there are some rare cases where some of these things have to be carried over from another level, which I think would be quite confusing.
Very confusing. I'm thinking, how do I get through this? Oh, I need Rick for this. Where do I get Rick? I can't get him in this level.
Previous one.
Back to another level, get Rick, and then go through to that.
It does say, though, that it's easy, that you can revisit earlier levels in the stage, grab the animal, the power-up that you need, and then just quit out the level. You don't need to finish it. So,
which is not explained either, and I wouldn't have known that I could have done that. So he then goes on to say that Kirby games are more often than not about playing with different powers, which is true. Which is, I suppose, if you love Kirby games, you love doing that. And I did love doing it more in that kind of triple deluxe.
Triple deluxe, it was good for that,
The powers there on offer are truly varied, which is true because you've got so many different animals and powers. And it's when you mix them and the variety of them really shines. Coo was my favorite animal, and I agree with HOT. I used the flying bird, and he's the bird that can fly against wind currents. So if you're in a windy area, you can fly straight through them. Having the ability to fly and using your powers to shoot electric bolts from down on high was very satisfying. How about Jonas, Nick? What did he have to say?
Jonas said that he adores the ability combinations and how they're used in puzzles and extra objectives. Granted, Kirby moves weird in the game. Yes, he does. Absolutely. Runs fast, but suddenly jumps and floats slowly. The controls frustrate me too much. The level design feels very basic. We said that. And some of the extra goals can feel obtuse. I agree. Not a good thing when the levels are long, which they are, actually. We didn't say that. Some of the levels are quite long, actually. I mean, in Triple Deluxe, they also were substantial.
Yes, there were a lot of long corridor levels, and if you got a puzzle at the end of it and had to repeat the whole thing, then it was great.
It was. What did he say? It's still enjoyable, and the game is basically free. Not technically true. It's about...
No.
It's a couple of pence a year, Basically free. Yeah, it's basically free.
So, strange occurrences. I briefly mentioned this. We're going to move on to cameos. And I I don't know if I should spoil things, but I've already spoiled the Rob the Robot one.
It's PodPals, and I'm never going to play this game, so let's just spoil it.
Okay, so I will spoil. The two other cameos that stood out to me as, what the heck is that doing in here? The first one, there's this little puzzle based around two Metroids.
Oh, okay.
There's these two Metroids I don't even know what level it's on, I didn't write it down, but there's two Metroids floating around, and you can't kill them. There's nothing that you can do to beat them, but you have to trick them to follow you so you can come round the other way, grab what you need, and then get back out before they hit you, because they suck you like a Metroid, they latch onto your head and finish you off.
Back, of course, when Metroid was still in everybody's conscience.
Yes.
Unlike now.
And then when you get to the end of that level, I suppose if you've done that Metroid challenge, you are met. Who gives you the star? Samus Aran herself.
Wow. Nice. Nice. No, it's a nice cameo.
Yeah. And Rob the Robot, of course.
Is there another
HOT, probably, but I can't think
Don't
of
remember.
it.
Okay. The Samus one's cool.
Yeah, Samus one was the coolest one. HOT says the game also features a couple of neat appearances from other Nintendo characters, one of which is brilliantly implemented. And then he says, I put it in spoilers just in case you haven't played the game. And he was talking about that Samus Aran one. That was brilliant. It was really, it's like, that's smartly implemented with those Metroids and then seeing her at the end. And that felt like a worthy inclusion.
Cool.
On to the difficulty of the game. Nick, did you find Kirby's Dream Land 3 difficult? Which we mentioned already.
Which I said yes, because I kept dying, because I was getting frustrated and trying to rush it. But come on, all Kirby games are really easy, to be honest. Yeah. And I think you have 10 hit points in the game, don't you? Because each time you get hit, you lose half a star.
You lose half a star, yes.
So it's just ridiculous, It's very difficult to die unless you're me. It's fairly easy. It's standard Kirby, I think.
The first world as well is just absurdly easy.
It is.
There's some weird inclusions of doors. Kirby's always got those doors with stars shining on them, and then you got the end of level doors. You got 3 gold stars, and then you got black stars on doors that lead. And there's like doors that lead to nowhere sometimes. It's just like an empty room, and you're looking around going, What? I must be missing something with the puzzle elements, and maybe something appears in the room that I haven't, because I haven't done something before. But there was a lot of them. There's a lot of weird inclusions, not making it difficult, but once again, making it frustrating.
Specific there. Maybe.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Anyway, Ike said, actually found the game to be quite challenging in places. So he's there with you, Nick. You can alter the difficulty a bit depending on what friend you have. Rick, for example, isn't great at platforming due to having only one jump and seems a little more slippery, kind of like Luigi. I'm not sure if I was missing something, but some of the combos were a bit obscure, and we mentioned this one earlier as well. The sweeping brush and the green bird ended up being a water attack, which was explained on the forum, saying it was basically a cleaning man. Mm-hmm. But there tends to be a pattern between each world, and they start to shake it up just a little to keep things fresh. Not enough for me. Didn't
Not
shake
enough
it
for
up
you.
enough.
I was going to ask that, because even in World 1 at the beginning of World 2, I did feel there was a nice amount of variety. And I think World 2 level 1 was the tree level, which you were talking about earlier.
Okay.
And the first time I played that, I was like, it was noticeably different, something different. Yes. So I hope, as I said, World 2 level 4, it's not very far, but I hope that trend continued and that it is quite varied.
Not particularly. The kind of variance, you see a few more tree levels, you see a few more underwater levels, and if you don't have the right friend, the underwater levels become even slower.
Oh, God.
So we're coming to the end now. We kind of, you know our thoughts of the game. And the end, and I didn't know this, but I suppose it's true of most SNES games, and especially Kirby games, it has 2 different endings. Based on whether you collected all the heart stars or not. So if you didn't get all the heart stars like myself, what happened in my end game was that I fought King Dedede. He was possessed by dark matter. Once I defeat King Dedede and his possession, dark matter reveals himself, and I must fight Dedede for a second time. And after I defeat him a second time, it shows the ending. If you collected all the stars, the player fights Dedede, then dark matter emerges, flies into the atmosphere, Kirby's in hot pursuit, and then you have this apparently long and difficult battle, which I didn't see, which you fight Zero himself. So it must be Ike, who, I wonder if he did collect all the stars, because he says the final boss is a typical Kirby outlandish boss, which I didn't see.
No?
No. And you didn't see.
I definitely didn't see it, no.
Yeah, so I can't remember the outlandishness. I just remember a simple Kirby boss. Any last thoughts about Kirby's Dream Land 3, Nick? How would you sum up the game?
Are you reading what I've written?
Yes.
Yawn. And how would you sum up the game, Lee?
Have you read what I've written?
Yes.
It wasted my time.
Yeah. But quite interestingly, Dracon agrees with us.
Yeah.
He does say, I sadly couldn't get on with Kirby's Dream Land 3 because, as is the norm with Kirby games, it's ridiculously easy. Now, okay, fair enough. This isn't the reason why I didn't enjoy it. The difficulty had nothing to do with my level of enjoyment. The thing that stopped me playing was that the levels were too long, the movement was awkward and too slow, and it just wasn't interesting.
And if you got the Koo, who's the bird, the flying bird, and you use him, and I found this out like halfway through the game. If you mash the B button, he flies faster. So I'm halfway through the game. I'm going through the bird and slowly making a pedestrian motion. If you B, he flaps his wings and he flies. But he flies too fast that the screen can't scroll fast enough, and you're stuck on the edge of the right-hand side of the screen, and you can't see the enemies coming, and it's this balance between, I've got to slow down, because this game really wants me to move slow. HOT said, it's a great game, and one that I'm happy to have played through. So a different take from us three so far, Dracon, me and you. In a time where most games are built to clean out your pockets, keep you playing for long periods of time and needing various patches just to run, it's great to play something like this every once in a while. It helps you remember a time when a game was primarily built for the players to just have fun. It was an experience that could be had from start to finish with no patches, everything was on the cartridge, and you weren't nudged to sign into the game every day in order just to keep you playing. It's an old school gamer. Happy days, he says.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is true regardless of whether we enjoyed the game or not. I think that's definitely something that's changed. I mean, these kind of games still exist, but definitely much less common than they were back in those days, obviously.
Hero of Time did stress that he was bummed out during the credits of the game, though, due to Satoru Iwata's presence as the chief producer.
Yeah.
He got a credit at the end of the game, which is always nice to see when a game pops up.
Well, it would have been HAL, wouldn't it, I guess?
Yes, he was in HAL at the time, yeah.
Wow.
And he calls him a legend. And
He
it's
is.
quite true.
I'm curious about what the next PodPals game we're going to be, because you've finished both of them and I've finished neither of them so far. That's not very good.
I think it's time for a slightly more modern game. Yeah,
Maybe,
we've had 2 SNES games now. So we'll in the up and coming weeks, we'll introduce on the N Europe Video Game Club thread. Next couple of weeks now, we'll have get some ideas from other people as well.
Let's get some ideas and see what people want to play, what they come up with. I would be up for something a bit more modern, but obviously it's got to be something cheap and on the eShop so that everybody has access to it.
Everybody has a chance to get it, yes.
Unless we just say it's Animal Crossing and no, let's not do that.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.